further, that could the should not be disabled and moved.
The woods. He would never be seen again.
We're running faster and faster and faster. We don't even break the mechanics.
This is outrageous.
Dallas, do you know what mass hysteria is?
To somewhat extent.
Well, mass hysteria is when people kind of start acting a little crazy, and there's not really an explanation for it. Doctors don't really know entirely what it is. It's just some form of mass psychosis that happens sometimes. There have been cases throughout history, all the way back to like the Middle Ages.
That's very interesting. I always thought of it was like defined as like some illness is just showing up out of like nowhere but have no organic cause.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just not an illness either. Sometimes it's just people acting weird. I'll pick our first topic here on the fishbowl today. Let's get our handy dandy little fishbowl right here.
Okay.
I got a good one. So, to start us off, it's going to be one of those cases of mass hysteria where it's just people acting weird. There's no exact date for when it happened. It was in around the Middle Ages in France, in a convent of nuns. Just one day, one of the sisters just started meowing.
Like a cat?
Like a cat. Just started meowing. And then it spread throughout the entire convent until all that the nuns were doing was just meowing. The people in the town got so fed up with this that they actually tried to get the nuns to stop. And when they wouldn't, they contacted the police, like the local police, and basically told them, hey, you got to go in there and make them stop meowing. We're done. And then the police kind of were like, what do you want us to do? And they're like, go beat them. I don't care. And so the police went into the convent. And there's some reports of it that they only threatened to beat the nuns, and then right after they threatened, they stopped. And there's some reports where they actually whipped the nuns until they stopped. But yeah, there's no explanation. Just nuns started meowing.
You know, I think I kind of had an experience like that. You know, on my dorm floor, all the dudes just started barking. And, you know, it was at odd times of the night. They were just like, woo, woo. And it was like, I had to tell the RA, you know, they threatened to do room checks. To do room checks. But I don't know with the nuns if it's exactly mass hysteria, just because the fact that, like, these guys are, in our case, these girls are separated from literally everybody else. Up, what was it, on a mountain? I don't know, right? Very religious.
Very, very Catholic.
Very Catholic. So, like, what else do they do? They have no phones. Like, they can't read books or they'll be witches. Maybe the Bible. I think you could read that. If I was a nun at that point, I would just start moaning really loud. I don't know. That just, in the case of stuff like that, it's just like, I like to make weird noises when things get silent or too boring. And I think the nuns did that because these are also young nuns. And, like, what else do young people have to do? Old people probably have, like, I don't know, dementia, and they're forgetting how to bark or meow.
So you think it was just the nuns got bored and started
I think
meowing?
they got a little silly goofy. Like, to be honest, because there's also another case, like, that happened in Germany about that. Whereas, like, instead of meowing, they took it a bit further, and they kind of got rough and started biting each other.
I remember hearing a little bit about that one, yeah.
Yeah. So I just think in the cases of, like, the middle-aged ones, also there's, like, not a lot of information on it. Mm-hmm. It's just them being silly goofy until they're like, hey, can you not do that?
Yeah, no, I agree. Would you like to pick our next
Yes, I would
topic?
love to pick our next topic. Oh, okay. The Pendle Witches. As we mentioned, you know, there is Catholicism. There's also Puritans. Very, very different breed. But these are even more stricter. They believe like this whole moral planet of like evil spirits, the devil, and women are like evil creatures, basically, and they're easily susceptible to like the devil. So basically, this girl is walking down the street, and this is happening in Pendle, London, and like she's a beggar. She's like 10 years old, and a dude passed by her, and she's like, "Can I have some change?" And he's like, "No." And then she just curses him, and then he just falls down and like presumably dead. He's not dead. In fact, now modern day science thinks he had a stroke, but she thinks she just bewitched and cursed this man. She tries to repent, and then she goes to law enforcement in Pendle and is like, "I did this," and then she just starts blaming her whole family for like being witches, and that if I had my mom, this dude wouldn't be dead. It just is so muddled because she ended up killing like half of her family by sending them to like to this getting them tried.
So she just
And they believed a child.
the 10-year-old on the street just
like,
said something to a
child,
guy and he dropped
and
dead.
he just
so
stroked.
he just dropped dead of a stroke, and so the cops were like, "Yeah, she's a witch." I mean, there's
she's
no
a
other
witch,
explanation.
and she didn't get killed or like murdered, but her family did because she blamed
'Cause
them.
she threw 'em under the
She's
bus,
like, she's like,
essentially.
my whole family is witches. I've come from witches.
Wow, it's a bit heavy. So let's get our next topic here.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. This is a good one. At about 1688 in December in the British Isles. So they had a new king come into power recently when this happened, and it was called the Irish Fright. What essentially happened is that some soldier who was on like lookout duty got a little jumpy one day and basically said, "Oh, there's Irish soldiers everywhere." And so the entire country of England started having mass panic about there being Irish Jacobites burning down towns and pillaging, just absolutely destroying the land, and like headed for London. This was when like the British Isles were not very like consolidated. They were all still separate. They like start freaking out. Like they were like, "Oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? Like there's an army coming at us and we're not like able to fight them." There was no one. There was no soldiers at all attacking.
Yeah, I heard like the news perpetuated it.
Yeah, they kept like it like would happen in each town. So like it started in like Birmingham, and then would go to Yorkshire because it was the next town, and they'd be like, "Oh, we got to get ready. Birmingham must be gone already." Like, "Oh no," panicking, just like countrywide panic.
Honestly, though, like to keep it real, it would world much better if the Irish actually did that.
I agree.
Because like London people are weird. Like they've precursor for a lot of the mass hysteria is just happened in England because they're just bat crazy.
I entirely agree.
Yeah, and like why would they be scared of the Irish? Like that's my question.
I mean, I think there's reason to.
You know, speaking on those crazy and Londoners, I have another topic, but let's see if the fishbowl will grace me. Ooh. Yes. Fantastic. So, welcome to Among Us Part 2, Salem Edition. These Puritans from London travel all the way to Massachusetts, in the Bay Area, of course. And nobody likes each other. So that's the setting. It's cold. Nobody likes each other. They're isolated. The girls are like, you're not allowed to speak unless you're spoken to. Very boring. So one of these days, a girl named Abigail, other girl named Betty, just start acting really goofy and start screaming, convulsing, and doing all this weird stuff. And they get a doctor who can't write, but who can actually like speak. He's literate but can't write, unironically, says, "Yep, I think you're bewitched. I think Satan has a hand on you."
So they got a doctor who couldn't write.
The
to,
doctor
to
was
diagnose them.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He'll just points at them and says, "Yep, yep, that's a witch right there." So they just start acting so strange, and then they're like, "Oh, this person's bewitching me," and they go over. I believe it's John Proctor, but they just start blaming all like different people that they're bewitching, and these people just accept evidence such as like spiritual specter evidence, and they say, "Oh, this person's evil spirit. I see them talking to me," and they're like, "Yeah, that checks out." So they end up start blaming this slave they have, Tituba. And Tituba is actually a pretty smart woman because she says, "Yeah, I am a witch, but also when I was signing my name in the devil's book, I saw all these other people," and just starts listing off random people in the town. But what's even more crazy about the Salem witch trials is that more of like the magistrates and the reverends profited off of it because like there was a family disputes, land disputes, all that. So they're like, "Yeah, this person is a witch." So after that,
So they wanted to like
they want
perpetuate
their,
it.
Yeah, so they want their property. So there are these cases of mass hysteria where people know, it's not real, and they're just perpetuating it to
Get something out of it.
to girl boss their land. And so many women died in it because of people acting silly and goofy. But there's so many theories around it about like, oh, there's a fungal infection with in the rye bread or like some weird toxin. But in the end, I'm pretty sure it was just intention. They wanted attention because they can't be spoken to unless they're spoke to. So,
Don't speak unless you're spoken
yeah,
to.
unless,
Yeah.
There are rumors saying that Abigail Williams liked one of the people and they wanted to kill her wife, like kill his wife to be able to, like, you know, hey, can I slide in? Is it my turn now? I still can't believe this also is perpetuated by children, that they just believed actual children.
Yeah.
They're like,
It's
I don't want to
crazy.
speak to children, but I'll believe them if a devil's possessing them. Yeah, it finally ended after the governor of Massachusetts' wife got blamed to be a witch. He's
Oh,
like,
so-
this is not real. This is crazy. And why are we believing kids?
So he was like, no, my wife is not a witch.
My
Like,
wife
stop.
isn't a witch.
So I think it's time for our final two topics here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what the fishbowl gets me today. That's a good one. Okay. So my last story takes us back to 1962 in Alabama. There was a mysterious illness coming down on all the workers at a dress factory. They all were experiencing nausea, dizziness, vomiting, even itching. Like some of them had bug bites. And so they chalked it up to, there must have been a June bug infestation into one of the shipments of fabric they got. And what it ended up being was that only some of the employees were showing bug bites, but 68 of them were experiencing these symptoms. And it's just a textbook case of mass hysteria because of the fact that it was no actual illness. There was no bugs found in the factory at all. It was actually fine. It just one person fell ill, and it was anxiety that caused all the problems.
I always find the illness ones so weird because unlike, the ones we talked about just before, convulsion is not really a sickness. That's something that can be just easy. A girl doing the Harlem Shake on the ground can be convulsing. But with these illnesses, it's just the brain is really weird to make you actually think you're sick, gaslight yourself into getting sick. That's what I do before I go to class. I'm like,
it's literally
I
gaslighting
have
yourself.
extreme diarrhea and I cannot go to class. My stomach hurts, teacher. And they'll be like, yeah. So I just gaslight myself into being sick. But it's still very interesting how it just spreads, right? Once again, it's just why would someone think they're going to be sick? Don't
Yeah.
they believe in their immune system?
Yeah, no, it's just one bug. And there's...
And June bugs don't even bite.
Yeah, there's actually there's no bug that fits the match. There's no bug that's venom or anything does all of those symptoms. And everyone is experiencing almost all of them. There's literally no bug we know of that could have fit the bill.
So speaking with the June bugs, in this whole factory spreading around, how would the June bugs live in that area anyways?
I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't think they were thinking about it either. Well, would you like to take us away with our last topic of the day?
Yeah, there's just so many cases, and I hope we end off with a good one.
Mhm.
Okay, now this is one that's going to be pretty good because it's very likely that all of us lived through this one. Back in 2016, do you remember the whole clown thing going on?
I do.
That was insane. And I remember in my own school, our school got on lockdown because there was an actual clown to be they were scared about it. They were like, there's a murderous clown outside the middle of the woods high school, basically. And I'm like, everybody was just so scared of these clowns. And it started off in Wisconsin, in another Green Bay area. I don't know why there's so many Green Bays. It started off there, and originally it was just somebody doing a guerrilla marketing.
Really?
Yeah, for their own, I think it was a movie. And so they were dressing up as a clown to advertise, but people thought it was murderous intentions and scary, and everyone got scared. It's these little internet rumors just starts off, and it just explodes. And there hasn't been a lot of for real clown cases. A lot of them are false reporting, but there is one case where it did lead to unfortunately they died.
Oh,
but
really?
anyways, and it led to some stabbings too, but there was just so much false reporting within it. And then towards the end, they just realized it was just mass hysteria.
Wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, because I think I think all of us here remember that. I'd hope.
Yeah, and And they pulled off clown like costumes during Halloween. Ronald McDonald got replaced by a box. And the World Clown Association was like, hey, can you guys not do that? We can't be silly goofy anymore.
We're not killing people, we
We're
promise.
not killing people. They're like, circuses are going, like, the profit from circuses are going down. And I'm like, good.
You mean
Circuses weren't good anyways, but
you know it's like a big deal when they make Ronald McDonald do something.
Yeah,
about
Ronald
it. Like,
McDonald.
they got the big guy.
they replaced him with a red box. Just like, but with like these clowns, I just remember just so fondly as kids. It's like I was kind of scared of them too because like people were dressing up as them, just like Halloween. They were still finding masks and like, oh, they're just trying to be creepy and be like, ah. But there was no like murderous clowns on the list except for that one person who died, unfortunately. But rest in peace. But otherwise than that, everything was just perpetuated by the news, the parents. It's the same thing with Halloween candy with like drugs or like razors in it. It's a spooky season.
I'm just chilling here at the Dunkin' Donuts, right? And then I look up, then I see this clown right there, which freaked me out, bro.
Well, folks, I think that's all from us here on the Fishbowl today. I'm Caleb.
And I am Dallas.
And this was
The Fishbowl.